Artlist.io.
What's good, everybody? It's your host with the most, Russ Morris, and welcome everybody inside the press box. Episode number 1, 2, or I lost count, of 2025 as we get set to start the 2025 college football season. As you see, I'm decked out in my UT gear. Hook 'em. As UT takes on the Ohio State Buckeyes in Columbus, Ohio, this upcoming tomorrow at 11 Texas time. So arguably the biggest game of the year. It's number 1 versus number 2 in the polls. Some say number 1 versus number 3 in some polls. Arch Manning makes his debut as the official starter for the Texas Longhorns for the upcoming 2025 season. And I think Arch is going to have a breakout year. I think this is going to be the year that we are introduced into what Arch can officially do at the helm of the position. And I know that a lot of people are thinking, well, how come if he was so good that he was behind Quinn Ewers last year? Well, Quinn, he didn't really lose his job due to injury. And I think Arch and his camp, along with Sark, was playing it safe, saying we need to keep developing this kid, let him learn what it looks like to play in hostile environments. Look at how he performed. Look at how Arch performed in the Lone Star Showdown at Kyle Field on Black Friday last year. I thought Arch did pretty good. Arch did start against Mississippi State earlier in the year, and he had an impressive performance, even though it was a lackluster Mississippi State defense that he was going up against. He still went toe-to-toe and outdueled the Mississippi State Bulldogs in the victory. He is going to be the key for Texas and how they win the game. His legs, I think, are going to be the reason as to why UT ultimately wins. Colin Simmons is going to have to be the unquestionable leader on the defensive side of the ball for Texas, because it was close one-score games last year in which the Longhorns gave up multiple opportunities to win. They had Georgia multiple times, and they just fell short both times. And obviously, look at how the shortcomings were on the offensive side of the ball in the red zone against Ohio State. Like, UT had the ball on the 1-yard line and just could not punch the ball in. I'll give credit to Ohio State's defense in that game. But still, that is something that the Longhorns need to desperately improve upon if they're going to take the next step heading into 2025. I do think, though, that the SEC is wide open this year. I personally think that there are about maybe 4 different teams that could win it. Texas, Georgia, LSU, and I'm going to throw South Carolina in as a sleeper. Lenore Sellers is a very underrated quarterback, and I think he too is going to surprise a lot of people. I'm not as big on Alabama as a lot of people are this year. For the first time, Kalen DeBoer has to go to Jordan-Hare on Thanksgiving weekend, and Auburn is going to look to try to play spoiler for Georgia and Alabama's seasons this year, because they get both Alabama and Georgia at home, and I think that is big. So I think Alabama is going to go 8-4 again this year. and I think they're going to finish outside the top 25. I really do. Uh, I'm not as big on Kalen DeBoer. If you look at his team that he had last year, and it was with Saban, and a lot of it was still with Saban's guys, players, that is. Uh, Alabama was very undisciplined. Hell, they lost to Vanderbilt. So that tells me everything I need to know. Now, I know that Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe, but he didn't have a loss like that since. Like, yeah, he lost to Auburn later on in Jordan Hare in that 2007 season, but it's Saban. That deal was special because in year two they were right there with Florida and lost to the Urban Meyer's Gators in the 2008 SEC championship game. So I think it just remains to be seen as to what Alabama can do, but I'm not as big on them. Oh, there's some breaking news from Adam Schefter and ESPN. The Dallas Cowboys are trading Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. So Micah Parsons is officially a Green Bay Packer to start the 2025 season. Now, we're going to find out just how much he is ready to play, because now that changes things. I think that changes the trajectory now, or the outlook of the Green Bay Packers season. Now, it depends on what Green Bay gave up and what the Cowboys got for Micah. Because this is, for Dallas, this is kind of like their Herschel Walker trade a little bit back when Jerry first took over the team. There is a big possibility that Dallas got multiple firsts out of this. And if that is the case, that is huge. I mean, huge. Now, it ultimately depends on where Green Bay is going to finish. I think, well, just looking at it, I have Green Bay missing the playoffs this year. And I have Detroit winning that division, and I have Chicago coming in third. I have Green Bay coming in last in that division. I think there's a lot that needed to be improved upon. I don't think Micah alone can save that defense, because sorry, I have Chicago coming in second. I didn't mean to say third. I have Green Bay. Never mind. I have Green Bay coming in third, Minnesota coming in fourth. Yeah, the NFC North is rough, guys. It is very rough. With that said, though, I think the Packers are going to finish, I think, in the middle of the pack this year. I think they're going to be one of the first teams to miss that last wild card spot. I have the 49ers being the final team in the NFC to make the playoffs. I have them as the 7th seed. And I think Green Bay is going to be a team that is just on the outside looking in, but they are But they're going to need something, whether it be at the trade deadline or something completely different. But Micah got what he wants. He got out of Dallas. He felt like he was very disrespected with the way Jerry Jones has been going about this. Jerry doesn't have to deal with the potential headache that Micah could have potentially tried to cause. Because I'm going to be honest here, if Micah did not get traded by next Thursday, I did not think that Micah was going to make the trip to Philly. I think that he was going to try to pull a TO and just be a headache and do his dangdest to get out. Now, I am surprised that Dallas traded Micah to a team in the NFC. I think Micah will play against Dallas later this season. So that is something to look out for. Uh, but Green Bay has another star-studded linebacker that they are going to possibly try to sign to a deal. Uh, so it remains to be seen what Micah gives. But let's revert back to what I was talking about with the college football season. What I was talking about with Texas. Colin Simmons, just to put a pin on UT's defense, I think Colin Simmons is going to have to be a anchor and a leader on the defense. If UT is going to make the strides in which I think that they can potentially make, it's going to have to come at the defensive line, and it's going to have to be with consistent pass rush, and it's going to have to be pass rushes against multiple teams. Like, they're going to have to consistently get after the quarterback and make sure that the secondary can wreak havoc in the defensive backfield. Looking at how college football is going to shape up this year, it's still the 12-team playoff. However, your conference champions this year, they do not have an automatic bye. They now have an automatic berth into the playoffs. And we go to straight seeding this year. So college football is going to try to mimic the NFL model and just go straight seeding. In the NFL, obviously, as we know, the division winners get a automatic berth into the playoffs, and the best record in the AFC and the NFC has a first round bye. So we'll see how this works this year. One thing that is to be mentioned, though, if a conference champion is ranked 25th or 24th and they win their conference, they will be ranked 12th. That is how I heard. That is how I interpreted this. So, see what goes on. So, let's move ahead into my predictions for this year. I have Clemson winning the ACC, Penn State winning the Big Ten, Iowa State winning the Big 12, Texas winning the SEC, and my Group of 5 representative in the 12-team playoff is University of Texas San Antonio. I like what Jeff Traylor has done at UTSA. I do think that this is going to be his last year there. I think they're going to have a successful season, and I do see him on the move to a bigger and better job. University of Texas San Antonio is a great market. The Alamo Dome is a great place to play, but I do think it is time to see him at the coach at the Power 5 level. I'll get to that. I'll get to that here in a minute. My top 12, my 12 teams making the playoff are Penn State, Texas, Clemson, Iowa State, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I have Georgia, Ohio State, LSU, South Carolina, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, and UTSA. As I'm looking at my sheet of paper that I have my notes written down on. Texas Tech is the biggest question mark in the Big 12 to me, because all of the money that they have built and all the money that they have spent with the facilities and building the roster, they have a $25 million roster. But the schedule leaves a lot to be desired, because they don't have anybody on the schedule that just jumps right out and makes you worried about them. They do play BYU, which I think is a tough test. They do go on the road to Iowa State, and they do go on the road to Manhattan, Kansas. Texas Tech has not won in Manhattan, Kansas since the 2008 season. It's a long time ago. And they have not beat K-State in general since 2015. Yeah, 2015. And it's shaping up to be exactly how like TCU made the 14 playoff that year. TCU mollywopped everybody. They didn't play anybody. Their closest game on the year was against Texas Tech that year when they had Tyree Wilson. That was the game Tyree Wilson got hurt. And that was also the game that Baron Morton got hurt in that game as well. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm getting at is TCU went to the Big 12 championship and lost to K State, but because they had a 13-1 record, a 12-1 record, they got in by their body of work. I don't know, like I don't see how there's a lot of pressure on Tech is basically what I'm trying to say, because in the Joey McGuire era, they have lost at least one non-conference game to start the year, one preseason non-conference game. They've lost to North Carolina State his first year, and they lost to Wyoming, and then they lost to Washington State. This year, their toughest non-conference opponent is at Oregon State in Corvallis. You can't lose to Oregon State. And if Tech loses to Oregon State with the roster that they have, they cannot lose another game until they get to the Big 12 championship. Like, if they lose to Oregon State in a couple weeks and then they make it to the Big 12 championship, depending on how they do against I think Iowa State and K-State, like those are the only two notable opponents they have aside from Arizona State. So depending on how they do against those three teams heading into the Big 12 championship game, if they make it that far, they might have to win and lock themselves in, because nothing is for sure. Now the Big 12 has always been a cluster, to say the least, but it's a fun conference. It is fun. The Big 12 has been working to get better, so we shall see. Now, the coach that I think is on the hottest of seats this year could potentially be Brian Kelly and LSU. Oh, here we go. The trade package for Micah includes 2 first-round picks and a frontline player, is what the Cowboys are getting. So that is big. That is very big. So the Cowboys are officially in rebuild mode. So what I'm getting at with Brian Kelly, if they go 9-3, 8-4 again this year, and they don't turn the corner, I could see Brian Kelly getting fired. Like, he has been the biggest, he can do this at Notre Dame and get away with it, but he can't do that at LSU, because the expectations that LSU has had, and quite frankly, you can thank Les Miles for this, for what Les Miles was able to do from 2011 all the way up until he ultimately got let go. They were always in contention, like, who is the next best team behind Alabama in the SEC? And now I'm talking about, this is before Kirby Smart turned Georgia around. The LSU Tigers were considerably the second best team in the SEC for many years, and they were just looking for the coach to get them to the next level. And that's what Joe Burrow did. That's what Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson did for LSU in 2019. So with how recent it has been since LSU has won the national championship, they cannot keep going 9-3, 8-4 every year. If they do that this year and they miss the playoffs, I think Brian Kelly is out of a job at LSU, and that becomes a high priority job because of the talent that LSU has and because of where they are in the country. Um, Nebraska and Oklahoma. Notice I did not say that Indiana was going to make the CFP again this year. Nebraska is going to be that team in the Big Ten. They get Michigan in September. They do not play a tough team until later in the year. There is a big possibility that they end the year 10-2. Yeah, there's a major possibility that they end the year 10-2 and lock themselves into the playoffs. Oklahoma, I think, is one that people are gonna like be pleasantly surprised that they are. Ben Arbuckle, he is a native from Canadian, which is about 3.5 hours up the road from where I am here in West Texas. He, when he played at Canadian, he had a hand in getting Canadian as a mainstay for West Texas high school football out here in the area. And then he's I think he's the best young offensive mind in the game. I personally think that he can give Lincoln Riley a run for his money. And sorry, I got an alert on my phone again. Uh, the the Oklahoma Sooners, like if they don't turn the corner this year, and I mean considering the wins that they had, hell, they beat Alabama and still found a way to go 6-6 last year. So if they don't turn the corner, Brent Venables could be out of a job. Now, it was funny that Brent Venables got hired at Oklahoma to begin with, because his nickname when he was there, they called him Brent Vulnerables. Because the last few years that he was there before he bailed to go to Clemson, his defenses were faltering before I think Mark Stoops took over. So that remains to be seen. And Micah Parsons and the Green Bay Packers agreed on a 4-year deal. $188 million makes him the highest paid non-QB in NFL history. So Micah got what he wanted. He basically wanted out of Dallas. So sticking with the NFL, my predictions for the NFL year, I have Kansas City being the number 1 seed in the AFC, followed by Buffalo, Baltimore, Houston, the top 4 in that order. Then I have Cincinnati, only because they have Trey Hendrickson back, and Shamar Stewart from A&M. I think that is the only reason why I have them making the playoffs. Is because let's face it, they're going to need a defensive coordinator. Again, like they didn't do the ownership that's there in the current GM. They haven't done anything to bolster the defensive side of the ball. Now, they did draft Shamar Stewart, but they drafted Shamar Stewart knowing that Trey Hendrickson's probably not going to come back. So they needed a fallback plan. So I think this is the last year of that opportunity for Cincinnati to possibly make a run at the AFC title game. I have the Denver Broncos coming in 6th, and I have the New England Patriots coming in 7th. I think Mike Vrabel and company, they're going to do a lot of wonders in New England. This is a job that Mike Vrabel, I think, has always wanted. I think he was playing his cards right to try to come back and coach for the New England Patriots. Now in the NFC, I have Philly winning, being the number one seed and winning the NFC East. I have the Rams winning the NFC West. I have the Lions in the NFC North and Tampa Bay in the NFC South. I have the Chicago Bears as the first wild card. I have the Carolina Panthers as the sixth seed. I have them finishing better than the San Francisco 49ers. I like that the 49ers brought Robert Saleh back. Problem is, there's a lot of people that are gone, and I'm basically saying that Christian McCaffrey is going to be healthy, but it's not enough. Carolina is going to be. I have the Commanders missing the playoffs. I think Jaden Daniels is going to have the sophomore slump this year. I think that Carolina was off to. I think they ended the season strong last year, and I think this is the season that Bryce Young is going to show out. A big part of that, I believe, is Adam Thielen is going to have to stay with the Panthers in order for that to happen, but that's what I'm banking on. My AFC title games, I have Baltimore over the Chiefs, and I have Philly over Detroit, and I have Philly repeating as Super Bowl champions when it's all said and done. Real quickly, let's talk some Texas high school football, shall we? I've got some state championship predictions. The two 6A, the two 6-man divisions in 1A Division 1 and 1A Division 2. I have the Jayton Jaybirds winning. I have the Jayton Jaybirds in Borden County winning both the 6-man titles. 2A Division 2, I have Wink. 2A Division 1, I have Post. I have Dangerfield in 3A Division 2. I have Texarkana Liberty Ilau in 3A Division 1. Carthage in 4A Division 2. Canyon West Plains, 4A Division 1. Iowa Colony in 5A Division 2. And I have Aledo in 5A Division 1. Katy and Galena Park North Shore. Now, I don't know exactly how they're going to be separated this year. Who's going to be the small school 6A representative and the big school 6A representative? But I think you can basically pencil those two schools in to get to the 6A state championship. So, let me know what you think in the chat in the comments. I will re-upload this video to my Twitch account. That way you can watch it in its entirety. And drop a comment, leave a like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think. How do you think Texas will do this year? What are your thoughts on the upcoming season? Where are you watching from? Give a like, share, and subscribe. This has been episode 1, 2, 3. I don't remember. This has been the college football kickoff edition of the Press Box. Thank you guys so much.
Artlist.io